everybody. Jake Steinerman here from Meta and host of Pixel Pushers. Great to have you all on another episode of the show. Today, we've got an awesome guest with us today. We have Allison Morano. She is the founder of the Metaverse Chamber of Commerce, which is something you can find on Horizon and Multiverse, and also the creator of Allison's Place in Wonderland. She's a member of a leader in XR Women and so many great other organizations and programs as well. Allison, welcome to the show. Welcome to Pixel Pushers. Great to have you.
Hi guys, it's really great to see you again after the Academy.
Yeah. You also got to attend our Creator Academy for Horizon Worlds out in Menlo Park a few weeks ago. We've had some other guests that attended that as well. Just for some backstory for those watching or haven't watched those episodes, the Academy is if you want to describe, actually better for you to describe it, your experience, and what it was about, than for me, if you want to tell the world.
Yeah, so one day I got this incredible application to go to MetaConnect, but first to go to the Horizon Creator Academy, which was an intense couple of days with Jake and Deepak, learning about all of this stuff with you guys. And so I applied, and they asked my background and what I'm creating and what I'm doing. And then I got the invite, and I was really, really excited. I was really excited. And so I went out for 5 days with, I think, 100 other creators from all over the world. It was a lot of networking, but it was like 2.5 intense days of learning about Horizon and mobile, and mainly creating these new games and easy ways for people to make the entry into Horizon. And then we got to go to MetaConnect and see the Mark Zuckerberg keynote, and we saw Boz interview James Cameron, and then 2 days in what I called Meta Disney.
It was. Everyone always calls it Disney, and fun fact about that campus where Connect happened, where all the activation happened, it was actually designed by Disney engineers, the whole layout and everything like that. So that's why
I live in Florida, so I know Disney really well,
yeah.
and Universal, right? And I walked around and I was like, this is I get the same exact feeling as the lots in.
Yeah. During Connect, like even more so, because we had like the skate park and all the other activations happening. You had like the bicycle trainer, it was like turned up to 11, and the ice cream shop, which is always there, the sweet shop, like all these things too. It's I don't work out there, but if I did, I don't know how I'd get anything done, because there's just so much. There's even
so
an arcade. Yeah.
There's so many cool things to do, and you could just walk in and out of it, and it wasn't too crowded, so it wasn't quite like, it was awesome. And I was just, because like I said, I live in Florida, and I was telling people I'm in a way better, really cool Disney kind of environment here, and it's really fun. And walking around, you just find people. I mean, I found so many people that I knew online, which is always the best part when you're in IRL, in real life. You can find people that you only know in the in the worlds, and then see them in real life and recognize them. So many people, I think it's amazing that the avatars help you find people. I was just literally recognizing people in the street as I was walking around.
Yeah, it was crazy as we were walking. Yeah, I got stopped too. Everywhere you go, it's sometimes hard to get to the demos, hard to get things done, because you would just always run into people, either from the Academy, right? We made so many new friends at the Academy. I made a lot of new friends there, and I'm sure you did too. But yeah, lots of people that you like somehow like if you never met them in person, somehow you can recognize them from their profile picture as
That's
you're
what I
walking
mean.
past them. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like real life, people don't think of it that way when they haven't tried it. I spend a lot of time talking to people about how this is real, and even more real than a Zoom call or something like that. And I have to explain to them that they should come in and they should see that these are real from people all over the world you would never connect with otherwise or talk to. I've met lots of people in traveling that I know from in the headset, and I go in real life and they meet me where I go, and it's like I've known them as well as if we were standing in the world and I'm talking to them. And they're the same. The personality's the same. It's and I just feel exactly the same both ways.
Yeah, the only difference is their avatar. If they do have that avatar that looks completely different from reality, but it's still the same person underneath.
The 2 days of learning and meeting 100 people from all over the world who were also creators, all different levels. I never felt that I wasn't advanced enough, and I never felt like a beginner. You guys taught excellent, one after the other workshops. And then in between, we were all stealing time to create, because the idea was to launch a mobile game at the end of it. And that's why we were all chosen, because I really now believe that I understand Meta Horizon's mission in bringing more people in through mobile and using these games that work both mobile and work in the headset, which was incredible to me. And we did that for a few days. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that you were able to, and right, we talked about this while we were there. You went from almost no knowledge or very little knowledge of Horizon as a platform, or at least maybe not the modern day Horizon. And then within less than 2 days, because it was Monday and Tuesday, by the end of Tuesday, you had published your first, public world out there and started getting users in. So at the beginning, we're like, you're not going to believe us. You're probably rolling your eyes. And then by the end, you're all banging gongs, hitting publish.
We were. I had depended on other people to really build for me in there. But what you guys focused on was the desktop editor. And then that's completely changed even since I've gotten back in the last week, right? There's a whole new editor, and complete, just run by AI, Gen AI. And I do a lot of AI on the side for my own business and things like that. And to be able to incorporate it, I came back and I redid a couple of my worlds and added two things that other people had already put in there for me, especially in the chamber. But I've got all these mobile ideas, the game ideas, because I learned now how to think in a new way, um, and that was a lot of the workshops I went to during the Connect event, during Meta Connect. I didn't even expect that there were going to be so many other workshops and demos and things like that. So I went to one. I guess there were maybe 4 or 5 in the day, and I went to one each hour or however it was timed. I spent a lot of it, and it was awesome, and I learned so much. And even just creating these virtual spaces for people to come and then come back to. And I realized the word sticky now makes a lot more sense to me. People need to come back and come back and come back, and then you build around it. And for my Chamber of Commerce with businesses, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I want to hear more about the Chamber of Commerce and also kind of your background, because I think you're really interesting in what you're trying to do with these virtual worlds, the metaverse, and things like that, in terms of bringing, you know, for lack of a better, like non-technical people into kind of this next generation of computing, into these virtual spaces. And it sounds like the Chamber of Commerce is a really big part of that. So I guess what I'd love to hear more about what the Chamber of Commerce is, like who are members of it, and why was it something that you sought to create?
Okay, so well, my entire professional life, I've been involved in a lot of networking organizations. You mentioned XR Women, which is they've been around 5 years, and they meet every single week. I think we just had our 235th meeting, and they asked me to join their leadership team a couple of months ago. And we meet in a different space, both in the headset and Web 2 and Web 3. We utilize any metaverse networking space that they can. And the companies that build these organizations, that build the developers are always really great about helping XR Women build a space where we can go in and meet. And we do networking. There's always a dynamic speaker from all places metaverse, in production, in healthcare, in mindset, in economy. Every week there's another dynamic woman that comes in. And we meet a lot in Horizon. Paige Danziger, who's one of the earliest adopters of all of this tech, she built this incredible world. So we meet a lot more in the Horizon space for XR Women. We also meet in Engage, and we meet in other places online, Frame, which is, I mean, on the, just on the 2D space. But I've always been part of these networking organizations. But in my own business, I've always gravitated towards chambers of commerce. I've always been on boards of chambers. And when I decided I wanted some sort of association to bring more businesses of all kinds in to this incredible tech, they're going to have to do one way or another very soon. I put the Chamber of Commerce structure around it. because I understood how to run that type of group. And I just started recruiting businesses when they were in there. Like, we should get together because we're all going to have to figure out this economy. When you're talking about the chamber, it's about an ecosystem and economy.
What kind of businesses have you brought into that, and what are the types of things that they do in in kind of the virtual world, in the metaverse worlds that you've made with them?
So a lot of them, because this is where I believe we started with creators. There's a lot of artists. So there's a lot of art businesses that have their own groups that they create together. There are in the economy side. There's people building. One of the founders with me. He is just building a place where he can sell his environmental products, and he started just figuring out how to build the base for it so that when it really comes, e-commerce is really going. He's all set to go. You know, there's different apps where you can bring in videos and you can bring in sales photos and things like that. And he was starting to build worlds in different places. Then I have a friend, Galagiant, who's the one who helped me build the Horizon Chamber of Commerce world, and he has all of these game shows in Horizon, and they get pretty busy. And so he's reaching out to the public to get them to come in and do this. And now that Horizon lets you come in on any device, everybody can join from everywhere. It's not limited to the headsets. So he, those just all kinds of businesses, people selling all kinds of things, building their locations and their worlds.
That's awesome. And what's your like pitch? Because this is always going to be like, to me, the way we get really everyone into, I think obviously what we think is, the almost like ultimate form of computing and collaboration, or as these virtual spaces. It doesn't, and I say that ironically, doing knowing that we're doing the show in like a 2D way. Maybe we do some of these in Horizon in the future. Um, but what I think the way we get to that future is by bringing, for lack of a, like the non-technical people, like the mom and pop shops, like the everyday person who isn't right now in VR all the time, or maybe doesn't even have a smartphone or stuff like that. Like, what's your pitch to them of like why, if they were listening right now and they were like thinking about it, like they are like metaverse curious, what's your sort of pitch to them about why they should be having a virtual component, a 3D world virtual component of their business?
I was talking to a group yesterday, and I think it's the next thing. In one way or another, we're going to communicate in a different way. And now the technology is taking 2D websites, which you can think of as brochures, and making the businesses need to think about a 3D virtual space for themselves where people can wander around, they can look at whatever they're selling, they can learn about it in an environment. And it can be on your browser, on your phone, or in the headset. But it's the same way the internet brought businesses in, and people, if you go back historically, people didn't believe in using the internet back whenever that started. Everybody's got a website. So with AI, what's going on is the websites are changing because the AI is not giving you the websites to go to. They're answering your questions. So how do you make your site interesting enough for your business, your online presence? Get people in there. And I can't think of a better way than to get people into a metaverse environment. And then you got to gamify it, which is why the Horizon game part fits in so nicely, because then you got to keep people there and keep them coming back. And you do that by gamifying. And so it's a lot, but people, I think, are going to get there.
So are they just creating like a one-to-one replica of their stores? So you just walk, instead of going to like down to Main Street and walking into, the, mom and pop clothing store or whatever it might be down the street, and I just walk into a direct replica of that, or how are people? Obviously, I think I'm leading the question being, we both know that isn't the way to do it.
Right.
But have you seen people doing things where they're not doing those sort of one-to-one replicas? They're kind of taking advantage of. the platform
I
more?
see it once in a while. I think now with the Gen AI bringing into the Meta Horizon Creator, the desktop editor, we're going to see a lot more of it. I think before you kind of did build a replica. I had a friend who's walked around and used to say, "I don't know why we recreate the outside in here." Um, and with the Chamber of Commerce, even I try to use it as an example because I've made a space station, and I've made the businesses that are members that want to do this. I've put them on planets, and you transport up there. And after the week at MetaConnect, I came back and I took the expo hall, which to me looked too traditional. You walked up and down and there were doors. And I was always like, I got to do something else. And I took it and I created with the Gen AI, I created a platform that looked like it was floating in space. And I put all the doors out there. And then you transport out there. And I had a friend that I brought in to show, and we went up there. I just showed it to her. We went through the door, the transport door, and went up to the it's not revolving yet, but we went up to the platform, and she saw everything and thought it was cool. Then we went back into the chamber, and she looked up and she said, "What's that?" I said, "That's where you just were." And she said, "I didn't know that." And then it was really cool, and she ran back up there so that she could see what was going on. So I think everybody should think out of the box that way. I meet with people all over the world. You do not get that on Main Street. Then I think I fully support local businesses and all of that, but they should also. It's not replacing anything; it's in addition to, and it's also a 24-hour. An immersive experience doesn't depend on you having to be there all the time, which a website does. But now let's look at the avatars, the interactive avatars that Horizon just came out with. I always told people when you build a location and you build a space, you have to make sure it speaks for you so that you're not going to be in there 24 hours a day. I did the math on it one time, and like one person manning something for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week was something like 300 grand a year. And that's not in a small or medium business budget. So it has to speak for you. Whatever you're building, whoever comes in, and they'll be coming from all over the world, they should find what they're looking for and have their questions answered or information. And these bots can do that now. That was one of the other things we dove so deep into at the Creator Academy is these interactive bots. And I've been playing with the background scripts and backstories and how they can answer. And they can be fun, right? I want them to follow around and ask questions that are kind of engaging you, but making it fun, right? So you want to go back and talk to them again.
Yeah, yeah. To your point, it's like it's gamifying it too. It's making it interesting because you want to do it. To your point, also, you want to do it better. This isn't just like, you know, have a digital version, like, have an Instagram shop, which is just, kind of 2D, and like I can look at the products, if I'm selling handbags or I'm selling whatever it might be. Like, this isn't just to have an online presence. This is like, hey, we can do this. You can do this better this way than you can before. It's like a step up. Yeah, like you said, you can have staff that staff the store 24/7, no matter, and you can have that potentially opens you up to more people globally as well, and those bots can automatically translate. So if you have someone from India, or if you have someone from wherever, Germany, like that bot can easily translate, their backstory, their background, their knowledge to those audiences. And I think that makes it a much better experience also. So that's, yeah, I love that. It's
And
really,
I'm
really
going to
cool.
plug something else from the Academy, which is the fact if you're
Go for it.
on Instagram, you can now click a link and go directly in. So I have worked with deep links for years also, which I always want more of for every app, is I should be able to give somebody a website address and they click on it and it either boots up the headset, which it does, or you can visit it on your laptop or you can go in on your mobile. And now Horizon is making everything into regular links that people recognize, and you can go right from there. And you can still boot up the headset, or you can go in and look directly. And it's just that just has gotten rid of a major barrier. I'm part of a group called Metro Traversal, which is run by Ben Irwin and several other people that we go around every 6 months or so and test the ways you can get into worlds from other places in portals and website links and things like that, and go from app to app or go from your laptop or whatever into a world. And that's getting better and better. But I think that Meta just changed everything. Horizon changed everything by creating these links where you could just hand it off to somebody and they can go right from there right into the world, um, which I thought was amazing also, because the more deep links we have, the more it replaces the web, the regular web experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can extend your Instagram presence to that 3D kind of version really well and gamify it too. So instead of watching a video or like you can make it interactive, I think, which makes it, to your point, more fun and gamified, which is awesome.
And I just think people should understand gamification for their business. It's just a way to get people to do something fun. I mean, it can be basketball, it can be, some kind of game where you're jumping around or doing something, or it's just the sense of going from one thing to the next, and kind of making your way through and getting rewards for it, which is always fun in an
Yeah.
immersive world. Now you can fly, or now
Hmm.
you can like jump around or do something and visit
Yeah.
this place.
Yeah. I think it's
Those
important to know too, because I'm sure there's a lot of people, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm sure there's a lot of people that when they hear, especially like business owners, and they hear gamification, they're like, I have a serious business. Like
they
I
think
don't
game.
want to turn yeah, I don't want to build a video game. Like I don't care about my
Yeah.
customers don't want to play games. Like this is like, I'm just here trying to sell what I'm trying to sell, whatever it
Hmm.
might be. So like what is you kind of talk you touched on it there briefly, but if you want to hone in on like what is gamification mean? Because a lot of businesses already do it, right? Like you
Yeah,
get
and they don't
whether
realize
it's
loyalty
yeah,
cards.
yeah, yeah.
Gamification. I think I wrote a couple of Substacks on this. Gamification means just to make it interesting. That's the thing. Do people want to come back, and do people like being there, and do they get something out of the experience? So, like I said, loyalty cards we do all the time. Rewards cards, points. All kinds of businesses do all kinds of things, and gamification actually doesn't mean game in that sense, in the traditional sense. But with this with the editor and with the new things we can do in immersive worlds, it can mean that now. You can put a game in and people just come back to play the game. And, look at all these, and I showed the large corporations that are already adopting it, Walmart and IKEA and Toyota, the car manufacturers, they're starting with games. They're not even in their McDonald's. They're not in there selling Happy Meals. They're in there getting you to do something fun in the McDonald's land, and then you gain points that will then work on your app so that you can go get real food. That's the thing. You get real things. It's not only digital things.
Hmm.
You, you
Though
know,
there is a big benefit to a virtual McDonald's, and that it's no calories,
right?
no matter how much you have. But yeah, no, I think that's the key thing too. Is I'm sure you've heard this from folks before. I know I hear it all the time from people who aren't in this space. Is like, oh, I don't want to like. I like the real world. I don't want to like just be kind of like Wall-E dystopian, sitting at home, just like living solely in the virtual space. Obviously, like there's more that's going to be happening in the virtual space, but it's tying what happens in the virtual space to the physical world. I mean, you talked about it just from Connect, like, oh, all these people I knew online, and now I got to see them here, or and all these things that happen in the virtual space. There's a component that either brings me to their physical business or gets me to do something in the real world and maybe see the real world in a way I didn't see it before, in some way. So I think that's always important to call out.
People don't realize. I'll tell people that I'll go all day long. I'll be in and out of my headset or in and out of some metaverse talking to people. And at the end of the day, I'll feel like I just got home. And I'll be like, where was I all day? And I did a lot of things with a lot of people that it felt real that I wouldn't have ever done before, going out my front door. And just to let you know, another horizon space I use a lot is workrooms. And I use that as an intro to people who don't understand what an avatar is. And they don't know how you interact with it. It's a cartoon. What are you talking about? And I'm like, here's a Zoom link here's a video link. Meet me in this place. And they'll come in as a real person on the screen. And I'll be sitting there as my Allison Morano avatar. And after 5 minutes, they don't realize that they're not talking to me directly. Like it becomes real. And that's another way I bring people in, is that they don't even realize that they're not talking to me directly.
Yeah, the hardest thing is getting someone into the headset for the first time, and I think we've even seen once someone gets in, even for a few minutes, you start to convert them. And workrooms is really interesting. That's one, I wish, Deepak and I are new to Meta, but I wish we kind of see that be more prevalent. Not just necessarily from a headset wise, but I think it does a really good job. There's like subtle things that workrooms does really well with, like the mouth movements and like the audio, like the spatialized audio.
I
Like
sit there all the
you really
time.
feel like someone's next to you. It's hard to describe on a video 2D
No,
podcast,
you
but
really do, because I bring it up in there all the time. I'll just look around and go, I can't believe that it feels like you're sitting next to me. The way it sounds, not even that I'm looking at somebody. The way it sounds, they're sitting next to me or across, you know. There's another women's group called Women of Workrooms, and I meet with them every Tuesday morning, and we bring in a new subject every time. The other plus about it is that, there's a browser in there. You can bring your screen up because you can bring your your computer, your personal computer into workrooms and connect it. And you can put your screen up in the front of the room and show everybody what you're talking about. So we'll be talking about this new tech, Horizon has this new thing, or Engage has a new thing. And, or I was just reading about quantum. We did an hour a couple of weeks ago on quantum computing, and we started bringing up the websites and bringing up the videos and playing them for everybody and they're all over the world, like I said, just hanging out, and you can show them while you're sitting there, which is another cool thing in there.
yeah, you can also, the other feature I haven't used it in a while, but I want to get back into it more recently, is that you can have your real keyboard. Like it does a pass through cutout of your real keyboard, so you can actually like physically, like that was always the hardest thing, is like how do you use your physical devices. So it does like, your mouse and keyboard and stuff. That's really cool. But
And it gives you enough space where I can bring my mobile in and bring it in, so I don't even miss anything in there, because I can see both my keyboard and my and you can keep your personal piece, your personal screen in front of you. It doesn't have to only be, up front. So you can work while you're, and there are people who meet every single week also and work. Especially if they work at home, it gives them an immersive environment and they work with each other in workrooms.
yeah, that's a great point. I feel like we need to use that more. We have to do this thing at Meta, which is really awesome, really really important, called dog fooding. From the phrase "eat your own dog food," where we have to every week we got to do at least 30 minutes of dog fooding our own products, whether it's Quest or Horizon, the editor, any of those things. And that gives, I think, so we put feedback into the product because we're using it ourselves all the time. So I think that's something that this is more of a conversation with me and Deepak. I think we need to, spend time in workrooms together, because I mean, just because it's a great place to kind of work. We should have our team meetings in there more often.
There's a Friday group, which is everybody goes in on Fridays, and I haven't been able to participate in that much, but they have a lot of the workrooms devs come in to say like, "Hey guys, what's going on? What can we fix? What are your bugs this week?" And they really listen, and then they'll fix it, and it's cool because where else can you do that? That's another thing about these games and these worlds is that the developers take a huge part. And I know that the developers of several of the apps that I use really, really often. I have one person of separation from them where they really want to know what's going on, and they come in the worlds and they're just like, "Hey guys, did you get what, is this working, or what do you want, or where do we go?" R- RP1, which is both mainly a browser, but then it'll open up in your headset in 3D, right? Those guys are in there all the time. And they're asking questions. Which is very cool. You don't get that kind of interaction in any other environment, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we try. Yeah, we try to do it. We did that at Spatial a lot as well. And Animal Company.
Hmm.
You said you were at the Animal
Yep.
Company session at Connect.
That was awesome.
Um, Yeah, that's a big part. Like that's a great tip too for creators and developers too. Is like actually get in there with your users. There's one aspect of like looking at data. There's
Uh-huh.
another aspect of just ask,
Yep. You
people,
gotta
just
have
jump
it.
in and ask someone.
You gotta have a thick skin though, because you never know what you're gonna get back. So you gotta be prepared. But people are using it, so obviously there's something about whatever app you're in. But yeah, Animal Company was a incredible workshop. And I learned so much about, I came out and was excited and ran up to you. And I said, I now understand the social connection to the game creation and how a company like Animal Company, an app like Animal Company reached 1 billion users or whatever, but they had to have the social piece.
Yeah.
You have to
It
have
was a
shareable
billion
content.
views on TikTok.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
we're on our way to 1 billion users.
A billion views, yeah. But
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
have that content that people want to share, which
yeah,
you don't get that in a brick and mortar. People don't walk in and aside from the things that they might record, people don't go in and record their experience because it was so fun being in that store. But if you made something really fun, I'm sure that if you had a clothing store, I'm just thinking out loud, but you had a clothing store and people were trying things on and they could record it and see themselves in the immersive environment, and then say like, I could actually get this outfit that was created by in Horizon, where we can create our own stuff now and sell it digitally. You can take that and really, really sell it, as a real item, which to me was groundbreaking. And people won't they'll record that and they'll share it. If you went into a regular store and were trying on shirts and dresses, you don't record that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you
You make
record
it like
this
a
cool stuff.
magical experience. Like, hey, you have to see, like, you have to be there kind of moment, right? Like, it's
Right.
you want to naturally share those kinds of things. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And if I didn't like this, I could just press a button and change it, and then and watch this, guys. And that's the kind of stuff that we can share. And that in itself is gamification.
Hmm.
And,
Absolutely.
but that's, yeah, it's incredible that we're heading in that direction. I absolutely believe we're headed. I'd like to speed it up. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do too, each and every day in VR. That's the focus with Horizon on mobile, is to get more people in and then into headsets, and that's why it's awesome to have people in the community like you who are like really on the ground, getting people into the metaverse businesses. People who aren't using the technology today, getting them to use that technology, and this is kind of a good segue too, and you've talked about it a little bit, is getting more diverse voices in these spaces as well too. And I think one of the great ways that you do that, and we've met a lot of the other women from this organization, is XR Women. This is going to sound like an insensitive question, but it's not meant to be, obviously. But I want to hear from you: is why is it important to have more women and more diverse voices in XR?
I love that question because it's the reason. I always start with saying, unfortunately, it's necessary, but at the same time, it's still really, really necessary. And I'm really happy when I see organizations like XR Women and Women in Workrooms. There's Women's World that's in Horizon and Multiverse as well, the two apps I use the most to create. And they're doing their next women's retreat where we're going to do a whole day in Horizon. So it offers workshops for 2 days from all the creators that are part of Women's World. And we chose one day in the app of your choice and one day in Horizon. We'll be visiting worlds and doing seminars and networking in the worlds that the women have created. And it's not limited to women. We just want everybody to be supportive. The stats of the day, you're talking about data before. The data is still that women need to feel more comfortable in tech world. And I think that we do, but there's still a need for women to be able to talk to each other and share their knowledge and share the tech in a comfortable environment. I wish it wasn't necessary, but it still really is. And that's why I gravitate to saying these are awesome organizations that are helping bring women in to be, the great equalizer. And we can all just kind of do our thing and not worry about it.
Yeah, it's a great initiative, and it's really awesome to have more of those diverse voices, because I mean I think it brings you need that, especially in virtual worlds where I think diversity is key, and I think it's a great, like you said, like an equalizer. It's a especially with Gen AI or all the tools out there too. Like really anyone can build anything they can think of. So to have um, everyone represented in these virtual worlds is important, and you guys really help kind of level the playing field even more, which is we really appreciate, but of course I think is it's important in general.
Well, yeah, and other forms of diversity and accessibility. That's the other piece.
Absolutely.
the accessibility is incredible. You know, like I was saying, I was creating this GPT to help people understand VR apps and games and to be able to ask it. I made a GPT last night because I was trying to answer my own questions. I was asking my own questions about using different apps, like Animal Company. I needed some stuff answered, and and I turned it into a GPT to help people just get basic things done. And it kept to ChatGPT's credit, it was asking me how much should it hit on accessibility features? And I said, always mention that it's available. And if somebody asks, because you talk to it, and I said, if somebody asks, make sure that you make all of that available. And the people that I've met in there who maybe are not the most mobile and can't do things really easily in the real world are finding absolute freedom to do whatever they want to do and create and visit and travel and do everything using the headset or using a 2D, a 2D immersive world. And it's just opened up, the door to all of an entire group of people being able to come in and do this, which is something they wouldn't necessarily be able to do easily in the real world. So across the board, it's just just opens everything up.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, no matter what platform they want to join in on or how they want to build and stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
the people I'm meeting are amazing, and then to meet them all in real, a lot of them in real life, and people that I
that.
didn't know, who I'm still talking to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, what I
so
love is when meeting, if I've only met people, in VR in these virtual spaces and only know them by their avatar, and then meet them in real life and get to know, obviously know their personality, but get to know their personality in real life, which often is the same as in the virtual space, but seeing the parts of the uh, the visible parts of their avatar and how that was reflected in their personality. Like when I meet them in real life, like, oh, okay, I understand like why you adjust your avatar in this way, or things like
or
that.
you
Like
do
it's
that in
so,
real life too. You're all
you do that. Yeah,
and yeah, and their personality absolutely comes through. And now you can make the clothing and everything, and I'm looking at people creating their own clothing, and it looks just like them, right?
yeah,
It's like that's
yeah.
exactly what I
That's
would
another
think.
great. Yeah, it's another great piece of accessibility too. Like it's being participating or even having some level of success in these virtual worlds doesn't have to mean like, oh, I have to build a literal like world, in order to create. It's if you're more into fashion or or those kinds of things or identity, like there's you can create fashion or we're starting to roll out. You heard and saw, maybe got to try it. Connect is generative avatars. So if you wanted something that wasn't just a maybe more traditional person in like cool outfits, you can just say, I want a cyberpunk robot, which is the go-to, or something like that. Like you can be and create that through Gen AI really easily.
Well, I've been experimenting that with the chamber. Like I said, I'm trying to make it a space, a space dock or whatever you want to call it. And I was creating my avatar to be somebody you would find in space, you know, to greet you when you literally drop into an elevator and come out the door. And I want an avatar that you would expect, maybe expect to be there to greet you and talk about the space and answer questions. So I was playing with the avatar creator the last couple of days. But another great thing is even joining the real world. It's not all. I'm thinking about this as you were talking. It's not all just digital, digital creations. I was really happy when I was started to be able to bring in real images and graphics and things like that into Horizon. I look for apps where I can do that. I could do that in spatial. I could do that in multiverse. And when I could really bring in the information about the chamber, let's say, or something about Wonderland, and explain it to people in an image that I didn't have to recreate in there, I could just bring it in. I was really happy about. So it's another way that just makes it easier to bring your own business in or bring your outside stuff in for people to see while creating a new way for them to see it. Um, yeah, there's a lot of advancements that I was really happy about over the last couple months, just across the board. The I can't wait till you can bring the environment completely into your space. One of the things I'm trying to do is build. I'm building a game where you hopefully will, whatever you create, you'll be able to then put overlay on your space. Um, and I just am waiting for me personally to be able to do that. On my own, it's going to be very, very cool.
Yeah, yeah, we talked about one of the other things we talked about is and launch was Hyperscape, so you can 3D scan your real physical world and step into that in VR, like hyper realistic detail and really easy to scan in those things. So that's what kind of the first step in bringing kind of the reverse, kind of like you talked about almost the reverse and bringing the real world into the virtual and being able to really merge those two together and allow other people to step into those virtual spaces. So you're going to see a lot more of that as well. So
Yeah, there's
get
so many
excited because it's
things
the first
that's
step.
coming, and
Yeah.
it's not, and they relate to once Meta adopts it for the headset, the other apps can adopt it as well. Um, in multiverse that I use a lot, once Meta allowed the browsers to come into the headset itself, and you could open up browser windows like in Horizon Work, in work rooms. You can do that now in multiverse, and you can do it in spatial, or you could do it in spatial. You can do it in Engage. So what Meta creates overall for the headset translates into something that the other apps on the headset can do in their spaces as well. And so I always look for that. Interoperability is a big part of my day. It's just, how do you use all the apps, and what can you do in all of them and bring your stuff in where you can find more of an audience. There's just so much stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, we could talk for hours about all the different platforms and apps and the way you're using them as well. But I think we're going to start to close things out. Allison, thank you for coming on. If any viewers are interested in joining any of the programs you talked about, like XR Women or the Chamber of Commerce, where can they go check that out and learn more?
So the Metaverse Chamber is actually metaversechamber.io. Or you could do a simple search if you go into Horizon on your desktop or wherever you go, or in the headset. And XR Women is xrwomen.com. And we're coming up on 5,000 subscribers, I think, which is
Oh,
really cool.
that's
If you go
great.
to YouTube, all of the past talks and presentations are on YouTube. They have this awesome museum that you can go through, which is on a 2D platform called Frame, and you can go through and see this amazing art exhibit that, again, Paige Danziger put together with some of the other artists that are members, and not members, outside. And that's how you find them. And it's really simple searches, which is why having these deep links are so important,
Hmm.
because everybody can find everything. That's what the web, on the web. So, um,
Amazing.
and I have Allison's dot place, which is where I put all of my other stuff, uh,
Okay.
and you can find all that there. But 'cause you have to meld it all together,
Hmm.
and that's where we are. That's where we are. But I'm really into
Awesome.
games now, and I want to do a mobile game. So
Oh, I can't wait to see, I can't wait to see it. I'm sure I know you got to start on that at the academy. I can't wait to see what
yeah,
else you build. But thank you again for coming on. It was awesome to have you. Let's get some more XR women on here. Would love to have more that members and leaders from that community and other businesses. Would love to have more people who are starting to build and explore in here. That and they're starting to push the pixels. As well, so that would be great. But yeah, thank you, Allison. Thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We put out episodes every Tuesday, so stay tuned. We'll have our next episode next week. So we'll see you then. Thank you, everybody.